Hi everyone, and welcome to Ninja Chickens. My name is Maria, and this is a podcast about knitting and fibery related things, mostly, sometimes with a little bit of do-it-yourself and homesteading or homeschooling stuff thrown in. Today we're going to talk about some knitting, some knit-alongs, and giveaway, a few acquisitions, and a little bit of other goodies to chat with you about. You can find me on Instagram as ninja.chickens, on Ravelry as Ninja Chickens, or show notes and information about the podcast and anything else I do at ninjachickens.org. There we go. So I'm sitting outside today because it's a gorgeous day. It is February 24th. And usually average temperatures in February, I believe, are somewhere in the 40s, maybe highs in the 50s. We've had crazy warm temperature for the last 2 weeks. We had crazy cold temperatures in January, breaking lots of records in January, and now we're breaking warm weather records, and it's in the 70s right now outside, and it's just beautiful. So I wanted to come outside. There is a light breeze, so hopefully that's not bothering the microphone too much. But this is a part of the property when we moved here that we were the most in love with. It was a bit of a glade. It's overgrown a little bit now. There's a lot of roses and berries back here, and then right next to me is a stream, and this right here is a couple of pieces of wood that are covered in moss to cross the little stream, and it's just such a beautiful space. So I thought I'd come out here and sit with you today. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to chat with you guys about is the sock blanks that I showed you last week. This is the eco-treated sock blank that I'm going to start doing my eco-printing on. So I had asked a lot of you about if you'd knit with non-superwash yarn, or if you prefer superwash, and there's a huge range of what people prefer, it seems like. I totally understand that if you're going to be gifting to someone and you know they're not going to take the time or not even think about hand washing something, then superwash is a good idea. But what I've actually found out with a lot of superwash yarns is they're not completely washable. And I don't know why some are better than others, because I do have some things that I throw in the wash a bunch and they seem to do just fine. But this is a pair of superwash sock yarns, superwash socks that I knit a while ago. And as you can tell, they're very felted. So I threw these in the wash just with all the other clothes, figuring, oh, they're superwash, so they're washable. And so I'd throw them in whenever I needed to wash them, and realized one time when I tried to put them on that they were crackling. Like, I put them on my feet and I could hear them cracking. And I looked closely and realized they were getting felted. So I started, this was, gosh, a couple years ago, and I started looking into superwash yarns. And we talked about it last time that there's a couple different treatments. People could either strip the scales off with a chemical, or coat them with a polymer, a plastic polymer, or both. So if you have something that's coated, after a while the coating seems to wash off, especially with hot water and soap. So the superwash yarns will still potentially felt. And even if the scales have been stripped, there's still the potential for them to grab a little bit. So I'm curious how many of you use superwash yarns and throw them in the washing machine, and then after a while start to see felting. It seems like maybe on a delicate cycle, or if you have a machine that does a hand wash cycle, that would be good. Mine doesn't do that. It does delicate, but and that's what I've been doing lately, is throwing all the socks in the delicate cycle, but I'm even still noticing a little bit of a difference there. So what I thought I would do to test out my sock blanks, this is one, as it came. It has nothing's been done to it other than just being knit up on the knitting machine. This one has been washed through the wash on a hot, strong cycle and then thrown into high heat dryer 4 times. So if you compare, and these are the eco-treated ones, so they have had the scales taken off with a salt, a natural salt, and then they have they've had a natural polymer put on them that's supposed to be biodegradable. So if you look at the difference in length, it's definitely shrunk up a little bit, which it will do anyway. When you block something, there'll be some change. After the first time washing it, I noticed that it just looked like the yarn had bloomed. It was a really pretty full yarn. And even after 4 times washing it, let's see if it'll focus on that for you. It's not, I mean, it's not obviously felted. You can still pull the string out. But if you look at the yarn directly, you can kind of see that it's starting to pucker in some places where it might be grabbing, where some of the scales might be grabbing. So, you know, again, I mean, you know, it's an environmental treatment, so it's better for the environment. If you were to make socks out of these and accidentally throw them in the wash once, it'd probably be just fine. 2, 3, 4 times they might be just fine. But I imagine if you wear these socks once a week and you wash them every week, that probably by the end of the year they're going to be felted. And that's the same thing that's happened with my Superwash socks. So it seems like Superwash isn't necessarily a complete fix. Like it's not like throwing linen in the wash where it just softens up and looks better with time. So I'm curious about your experiences for those who have used Superwash and wash them on a regular cycle. Right now this yarn is still very usable, but it looks like it might be starting to felt up a little, and that was after 4 washes. I just threw it back in every time I had more clothes to do, and it was hot water, cold rinse, like all the perfect conditions for felting. So in 4 washes, it didn't do a whole lot, so that's pretty good, but it seems like it probably will at some point. So what I will probably recommend when I start dyeing these is that, you know, I'll say, you know, on the Etsy page that they have been treated, but I'm gonna recommend hand washing or washing in a delicate or hand wash cycle, because there's definitely still the potential for them to felt. So, I also had a giveaway from last episode, and I asked you guys to tell me about your experience with Superwash yarns and if you'd ever knit socks with non-Superwash yarns. And there were a bunch of you who replied, so thank you, I appreciate it. It was interesting to hear how many of you actually prefer using non-Superwash because of the feel, and you know, you don't mind taking the time to hand wash your socks. I would like to say, I don't mind hand washing mine at all. The process isn't a big deal, but I will say that they pile up. There's usually a big pile of socks before I finally get to them and do it. It's not that I mind doing it, but I guess I need to start, in all areas of my life, figuring out how to slow down a little bit. It might seem like I live in a comfy little paradise where everything's, you know, slow and back to nature, but I'm a very type A person. I've always got too many things on my plate. I'm always doing more than I should, and I kind of thrive on that. I'm good with that kind of energy, but I also know it's not good for me. I need to learn how to relax a little bit more, learn how to just sit in a hammock and put my feet up and not feel guilty for taking that time to chill. So I guess that leads into the hand washing the socks thing. It's about taking the time to care for those things that I've created and not feeling like, for me, not feeling like I need to just hurry up and throw them in the wash so I can be done and move on to something else. So I'm going to start hand washing my socks more. Let me just leave it there. But last episode we had a giveaway. And I loved all the things that you guys said and replied. Thank you for taking the time. I did not, usually I try and respond to all the comments. I didn't respond to all the comments because I wasn't sure how it would how it would mess up my comment count, and it didn't at all. But I wasn't sure if I would try and put it through some sort of random machine. I just counted the comments. It was no big deal. But either way, if I didn't respond, I read all of them, and I appreciate it. The winner of the Making Stories Socks e-magazine giveaway is Robin Ferguson, and I'll send you a little note after your comment, and I can get that to you. It really looks like an amazing magazine, and I hope you guys have at least checked it out on Ravelry to see what patterns they've got in there. And if you didn't win, maybe you'll go see about buying it, because I think it's if you like sock knitting, they have some beautiful patterns. Okay, so I don't have, sorry for the crinkles, I'm sitting, it's really wet out here, so I'm sitting on a little plastic picnic blanket. I don't have any finished objects. I have 2 works in progress that you have not seen yet. The first one I have in this really pretty bag that Giada Rose of Rose Witchery sent me. She's the illustrator of my children's book. And it has the 3 spinsters on there. I really like it, and I love how she puts them all in colorwork yolks. So I cast it on my project for the Blacker Yarns Knit Along, and it is the Moonlight Traveler Mitts by Nina Pomeranke. I love these. These were so much fun to knit. She did them in 2 colors, but I got 4 colors from, actually I got 6 colors from Blacker Yarns, and 4 of them I really loved how they looked together. So I decided to go ahead and mix them all. So there's, it's a fingering weight knit, and I was not, I have a, when I go down in needle sizes, it seems like my gauge gets a little looser. So I knit the size small so that it could fit a large hand, and it fits perfectly. And on the bottom, you've got your little flower and leaf motif, and then the moth up here on the moonlight. And on the thumb, you also have another moon. And I love how they turned out. I decided to go ahead and duplicate stitch on top of the moth. I had a really pretty limey green linen yarn. I'm going to stop for a second while that wind passes. So I decided to take that and duplicate stitch over the wings, and then Luna moths have these things on them that look like eyes. So where there was a dot in the pattern, I used some other colors to create that that eye. And I really like it. The linen has a little bit of a shine to it, so it's perfect. So I'm going to cast on my next one, and this is, so Blacker Yarn is hosting or sponsoring the Podcaster Lounge in Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So they're doing a knit along. It's not just for the people who are going there. Anyone can participate and win prizes. But I thought, well, I've always wanted to try Blacker Yarn, so that's why I wanted to do these. And I'm going to get to meet Nina and her mother at Edinburgh, which will be really cool. So I'll bring these with me so I can show them off. As part of the Podcaster Lounge, Blacker Yarn sent out some samples of their newest yarn to some of the podcasters to try out, and I got to try some. They have started doing breed-specific Jacob yarn. So if you don't know Jacob sheep, they're actually one of the ones that I used for my Fleece Flight shawl last year, and they come in kind of speckled colors. They're really beautiful, and the male and the female sheep can have horns, sometimes up to 6 massive horns. So they're really interesting and neat looking sheep. There's a cat coming. Hey, come on over. Say hi, Junkie. So they sent me these 2, fingering weight. One is they're both natural. Neither of these have been dyed. But what they did was they separated the colors in the fleece into the light and the dark patches, and they created 4 different colors in the natural, going from the light to the dark, kind of like a fade or a gradient. And with those, they also dyed. They've done a small run of dyes so far to see how these colors do and how people like the yarns. but they did pink in a DK weight. And then in the 4-ply or fingering weight, they did a light green and a blue. So they're absolutely gorgeous. And I'm excited to try it out. It's very similar to the 4-ply that I've been using for the mittens, for the Moonlight Traveler mittens, but just the slightest bit thinner, if you can see. It's just the slightest bit, but they're both a fingering weight, and it feels sturdy. It feels soft, not merino soft, but you could probably do a, oh yeah, it's not itchy really. You could probably do a sweater out of this, but I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna cast on with these. I want to do something to try it out. Maybe a hat. We'll see. But I'm excited. I've only knit once before with Jacob, and that was for the fleece flight shawl, so this will be really nice to try it out. So thank you, Blacker. I appreciate it. I mentioned Blacker Yarns is sponsoring the Podcaster Lounge for Edinburgh Yarn Festival. It is going to be from 12 noon to 2 p.m. each day of the festival, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I'm going to try and be there every day. The only day I'll be a little late is on Friday because I'm going to go to the Kate Davies book talk, which I'm really excited about. Other than that, I'm hoping to be there. So please, if you're coming to the festival, please come out and say hi and introduce yourselves. I would really love to meet you guys. I have one other work in progress, and this was suggested when I spun this last hand spun. I didn't really know what to do with it, and usually I take and put it aside, and I wish I could remember who suggested it, but one of you guys suggested a cowl called the Salt Point cowl, and I saw that and thought that would be perfect. So this is the Salt Point cowl. It is by Dami Hunter of Magpie Fibers, and I just thought this would be perfect with the gradient yarn, and I was planning on, since there's some lighter tones in here, I thought I would use a white yarn, and I didn't have a black yarn. So I grabbed a white that looked like it would go perfectly, and I started caking it up, and it broke. So I thought, well, that happens sometimes. I tied it back together, and I kept unwinding, and it broke again, and then it broke again. After 7 times breaking, I threw it away. This is all that's left of the yarn because it was just a tangled mess, and I don't know, it seems like it's pretty strong, like it doesn't seem like it's gonna break too easily, but either it was just wound up in pieces or I don't know. I was kind of sad because this was gifted to me from someone who went overseas and brought it back for me, and it seemed like it was going to be a really nice yarn, but that's the only thing I had that was in the right weight. This is kind of a sport weight. So when I was dropping Leaf off for one of his classes, it happens to be very close to Pearls, which is a yarn shop downtown in Asheville. So I went in and they got me this one, which is Mirasol's Kulla. Q-U-L-L-A, Kulla. And it's perfect. And it's actually, this is merino and silk, and this that I hand spun was Polworth and silk. So it's perfect. They actually match really well. And here's what I've done so far. How cool is that? So it's a provisional cast on, and then you follow the pattern. You can either make a long cowl that can wrap twice or a short, thicker cowl. So I'm making the long one. And you just keep on going in a tube until you get to the end, and then you will attach them together. So this has been a lot of fun. It's super soft, so I think it's going to be nice as a cowl. But I really like that geometric pattern. And it's been fun knitting with my hand spun. I should do it more often. So that's my other work in progress. And let's see. Those are my 2 works in progress. And I have a couple that I'm going to be starting, and that is for our Knit Your Bottoms cowl. Some of you guys have already joined in. There's a Ravelry group thread that's been started. The official cowl starts March 1st. If you already have something that's in the works, that's okay. You just have to use at least one full skein of yarn, and bigger is fine. But I wanted people to have a range between knitting the Maya's Mameluker, which everybody's really interested in, those little cute shorts, all the way to a big skirt or tights if you want to. My plan is, of course, to knit the Maya's Mameluker because they're really cute little shorts, and I'll put a picture on. I don't have a picture of that one. And then the other thing I'm going to knit is the Dixon skirt. And that's this. It has beautiful cables up the bottom and then a ribbed top. A lot of people have said in the Ravelry pattern page that it slides off very easily because it's just ribbed around the waist. So a few people suggested actually knitting an inch extra and folding it over and making an elastic band. So I'm definitely going to do that. I think I'm going to wait and get my yarn for the little shorts up in Edinburgh. Since that's a Swedish pattern, I thought it would be fun to get that yarn overseas. And the Dixon, I may have the yarn I need for that, but I'm not sure yet. But those will probably be my two cast-ons for the Knit Your Bottoms cowl. So that cowl is going to run from March 1st through June 1st. So I would love if you guys could join. That's 3 months, so it's lots of time if you plan a big project or you want to do a few little ones. And it's anything basically that you want to knit from the waist down, except socks. Shorts, skirts, pants, tights, leggings, however you want to do it. So I'd love it if you want to join in. The wind is picking up a little bit and clouds are starting to move in, so hopefully I'll be able to finish without having to move. I really like this setting, but I don't want you guys to have to hear the wind blowing too loudly. There are a couple other things I wanted to chat with you guys about. The first thing is, if you are local or near here, I'm going to be doing an eco-printing class at the Lady Luck Flower Farm, just a few miles from my house, in September, on the 23rd of September. It's a full day. We're going to be printing silk and cotton, and they have a huge, beautiful flower farm, so we're picking some of the flowers that are good for dyeing there and collecting our own materials. So if you're interested, you can check out their website at Lady Luck Flower Farm. And I'm also going to be teaching again at Wool Scouts. I think there are a few spaces left for that retreat. She's doing 2 sessions this year because it was such a hit last year, and that's in August. So if you look up Fiber Trek or Wool Scouts, you'll be able to see more information about that. And we'll be doing paper there and making eco-printed stationery. So last episode, I talked about the blanket that Melissa from Knitting the Stash is doing. And then I heard about another blanket. Evelyn from the Thistle Hollow podcast is doing a blanket she's calling the Sister Survivor blanket. Many of you know that there are a lot of things going on in the United States right now. It seems like more so than usual, with just a lot of turmoil going on, is a good way to put it. So one of the things that Evelyn felt called to do something about was the abuse of women that has been happening and now being brought to light more so in the media, and people speaking up against it, and many survivors of that abuse stepping forward and saying, I've been through this and it needs to stop. There's one case in particular that has been happening with hundreds of women who were treated by a doctor in gymnastics. She speaks to this whole thing and what's been going on in one of her most recent podcasts. But what she wants to do is, there's one woman in particular who stepped forward after many years and said, I need to be heard and I need to be believed, because she was concerned that people wouldn't believe her when she stepped forward. So her stepping forward and speaking about the abuse that she went through then led to 155 women coming forward. So Evelyn really wanted to do something to support this woman. Rachel is her name, who stepped forward in the first place. And she is creating a blanket for her, and she's calling it the Sister Survivor blanket. She wants it to have one square for each of the women who stepped forward, and it will be, you know, a way to support and comfort Rachel for, you know, being the first woman to step forward. It'd be great if we could do a blanket for every woman, but to start with, there's going to be just one blanket. So if you can go to Evelyn's podcast, The Thistle Hollow, I'll link it so you can see what she's doing. She has one that talks about all the specifics as well as the details of what she's planning. I'm planning to knit at least one square. She's asking for a 5 by 5 inch square, which is not much, in fingering weight yarn that's superwash. So I'm thinking of doing it out of some eco-printed yarn because I thought that might be nice, something that I've put some time and attention into. So if you can, if you have the desire, I think it's a really nice way to help in some small way to create something that might be of comfort to someone who's been through a pretty rough experience. And unfortunately, I know that statistically many of you guys out there have also been through something like that. So it's just a nice way to reach out and support someone. So let's see, I think the only other thing I have to chat with you about is an acquisition that I got from, I'm almost done, Wind. I'm almost done. 3 minutes. An acquisition that I got from Monica of the Yarn Experiments. She was a test knitter for the Hearth and Snow hat, but she wanted to send me a couple skeins as a giveaway for the hat, because she has a bulky base that's perfect. But what she did was, she made me a Giants in the Cloud base. Look at that, the colors match perfectly. The grays, the browns, the blues, it's absolutely perfect. So she sent me 2 of these. Here's her. So I will figure out a giveaway for those soon, and I will let you know. But thank you so much, Monica. The yarn is absolutely gorgeous. It's merino and nylon, and it's bulky and just beautiful. Those colors. So I think that would make a really lovely hat or whatever else you wanted to make out of it. So I think that's it. The wind is really starting to pick up, so hopefully it's not too much for you. I'll cut out as much as I can. I hope you guys have an amazing couple of weeks, and I will see you one more time before I head off to Edinburgh. If you've ever been and you have a recommendation, something that I absolutely have to do while I'm there, let me know in the comments. And have a great week. Take care. Bye.
If that mockingbird won't sing, Papa's gonna buy you a diamond.